Hi, so I am going to be talking about the USMLE Step 1 and my tips for it, and how I basically managed to pass Step 1 and the physician licensure exam in the Philippines within a month of each other. So if you have been watching my videos prior to this one, I documented my entire physician licensure exam journey in 5 videos, but I'm not going to be doing the same thing for my USMLE journey because, well, at least not for Step 1, because I basically had about 5 weeks to study for it, and I didn't really have enough time or energy to sit down and film a vlog like this and then talk about it while I was, panic studying for I think it was around 5 weeks or less because of the holidays and all that. So just to give a little timeline so that it's not as confusing, the physician licensure exam in the Philippines is held every October or March, I believe, or April. So last year in 2023, I took the October physician licensure exam in the Philippines, and then in the first week of December, I took the Step 1 here in the US. So in between, so the exam ended on the 28th of October. The physician licensure exam ended on the 28th of October. I flew to LA on the 30th, which means that I had a little over a month just to study for Step 1, because I scheduled my Step 1 exam to be on December 8th of 2023. And so anyways, I will go ahead and shift over to a clip of a screen recording of how I managed to do UWorld and finish UWorld while studying for the physician licensure exam. So I'm gonna go over my UWorld details. So let's go ahead and log in. And I just finished taking my Step 1 self-assessment form, which I'm gonna go through that in a bit. But first, let's go through the qbank. So this is my overall score on the qbank after I finished all 3,697 questions. I got a 61% overall, and that's a little under the median score, which is okay. It's down by 2%, and that's fine. And I attribute that to the fact that I didn't really start taking my UWorld seriously until around 2-3 months ago. So I am gonna go through my performance. So that's the overall, and then this is what the reports tab looks like. Basically, it just breaks it down by subject, and you can see which subjects you're doing well on, which subjects you're doing poorly on. I should probably pay more attention to this, but there's kind of an intuitive sense where I know which topics I need to work on, but this gives it objectively. So I'm gonna take some time to go through that eventually, just not right now. And then graphs. So this is, I think, the more important one. So this shows you your performance overall by date and also by test. And out of the two, I think the more useful one for me is the performance by test. But I just wanted to briefly go over what is going on here. So I started my UWorld subscription last year in June, and I ended up renewing it because I had meant to take my Step 1 exam in the summer of this year, but a lot of things happened, and so I ended up having to push back that date to December. And so now you can see where I was starting at on my UWorld question blocks, and these weren't full blocks, mind you. These were like test blocks, like 10 questions, 20 questions. Rarely did I ever do like a full block around this time, and there's like a whole stretch of nothing, and that's because I had started my internship year and I was adjusting pretty heavily to the workload of being an intern. And it wasn't until around March that I started again. And I was doing these like during free time, downtime during shifts at the hospital, or when I was off duty. And so you could see that my scores were like sporadic, and there's a very wide distribution on how well I do. It depends on how much sleep I get, how much time I actually had to study. Usually I didn't study during this time. I should have, but I didn't really have the energy to. And so now you could see like around August is when I started up again and paired it with my studying for boards, and you can see there's definitely an upward trend of my scores. And I'm going to show you the last 90 days because that's a little bit more framing the amount of time that I had when I was seriously studying for step 1 and board exams in the Philippines. And so you can see that my scores have definitely improved compared to my cumulative score. And the good thing about the performance by tests, I'll show you, see it like sporadic. It's the last 90 days. Okay. So the good thing about performance by test is you could see others' average score, which is what you really need to compare yourself with in terms of getting the confidence of taking all of these exams, these step exams. So as you can see, my performance hovered around average, although it did tend to have more above average scores than below average scores, which is good. And you can also overlay your cumulative score on top of that as well. So now let's exit out of this and let's go to the step 1 self-assessment that I just did today. So this is the step 1 self-assessment. It comes with 4 question blocks, and I completed all of them just now in the past 30 minutes. And it also gives you similar looking score report. So as you can see, I scored higher than my qbank average. 69% is pretty good, and definitely moved up my percentile rank compared to my qbank average. And so I'm gonna look at the score report like this, and this gives you an assessment score, which according to their data here, it's calculated by UWorld and is based on UWorld's own proprietary algorithm, and also has a approximate 3-digit score. So a 3-digit score is based on UWorld historical data, but it's not intended to predict your performance in the actual USMLE. Now, this 3-digit score isn't that applicable to the step 1 because step 1 is now pass fail, but definitely once I start using UWorld for step 2, when I get there, this approximate 3-digit score is going to be helpful. And so as you can see, I have pretty good chance of passing. So the passing score, I believe, is around 196. So even if I score 30 to 40 points below my my approximate 3-digit score that was calculated by UWorld based on step 1, I have a pretty good chance of passing. Of course, this doesn't mean I should be complacent and just stop studying, because that would be to my detriment, but it'll give me more confidence and encouragement to keep going. And hopefully I can get more done in the next coming weeks, because the exam is in about 31 days. Yeah. So my testing date is December 8th, and I'm recording this right now on November 7th. And so, yeah. Alrighty. So next, I figured it would be helpful to go over my stats for when I took my practice exams for step 1. And so starting with the very first, although I wouldn't say it was a practice exam because it was an official exam, that meant that if I passed it, that I got my license to practice medicine in the Philippines. But I don't know, since I'm considering it a practice exam for step 1, because it just fit in my timeline. So anyways, for the physician licensure exam, my rating was an 80+%. And I guess to put it in context a little bit, the top 10 scorers of my exam, our exam in October 2023, was 86 to 89%. I believe the top scorer scored an 89%. And I think I scored pretty well because I didn't score really super close to the top 10 scorers, but I scored well enough that I wasn't doubting my ability to be able to pass step 1. And so next is my stats for the practice tests that I took in the month between. And so starting with the UWorld qbank, which you saw in the previous clip, I got a 61% on the qbank, and then for the first self-assessment test, I scored a 69%, and then for the second self-assessment test, I scored a 76%. I took as many NBMEs as I could take, so I took the NBMEs 20, 21, 22, 24, 25, 28, 30, and 31. In addition to that, I took both the old free 120s and the current free 120s. So if you don't know what the NBMEs are and what the free 120s are, I highly suggest that you watch Melman Medical here on YouTube and look for his website. So that's Melman, MEHLMAN, Medical. And you search him up on YouTube. I have been watching his audio qbank for the past month, and he has very helpful tips on step 1 and step 2 CK. So basically, I got my strategy on how to study for step 1 as quickly as I possibly can from him. And so he had mentioned the strategy of taking as many NBMEs as you can, if not all of the NBMEs that are available online and offline. But I wasn't able to take all, I believe 11 or 13, however much there was to take. I did take a good chunk though, and so my scores on those will be somewhere here. I don't want to go through them one by one since there are so many. But the NBME is basically the National Board of the National Board of Medical Education here in the US, and they're the test writers for the USMLE. So basically they have available forms that you can purchase online and you can take online, either timed or untimed. Self-paced is what they phrase it. And basically it's a practice test, not a full-length practice test, but I think it's 200 questions per NBME, and it's a really good gauge of how well you're going to be performing on the test itself. So next is the free 120s. So the free 120 is again created by the test writers of the exam, and it's basically free since you have to purchase the NBMEs, the free 120s are exactly what they are. They're free 120 questions that you can take online on their portal if you're taking the current free 120, but there's also PDFs that you can find on Google of the older free 120s. So I took one old one and then the current one, and my score will be right here for the free 120s. So for test day, I looked up how best to break up the different blocks in order to maximize my break time and do the best that I possibly can while I'm actively taking the test. So if you're unfamiliar with how step 1 is structured, there are 8 blocks. The first block is the orientation/tutorial block, and you can actually take the orientation/tutorial block online prior to even setting foot on the testing site. So I highly recommend that you do that so that on test day itself you don't have to spend however long to go through that first block, and instead you could skip through it, like speed through it, and then the remaining time that you didn't use up doing that first block will be added to your break time. So that's what I did. I got myself an extra 13 minutes to the 45 minutes of break time that they schedule, or like that they allot you. And so it's your choice how you take your breaks, but you have 45 minutes pre-programmed, and then you can have an additional 15 minutes to that to have a total of an hour of break time. So I took 2 minutes to make sure that I didn't miss anything on the orientation, and I sped through it, and then the remaining 13 minutes I added it to my 45 minutes of designated or allotted 45 minutes, so that I had a total of 58 minutes of a break. So then the strategy that I took for the blocks itself is that I took 2 blocks back to back, and then took a 5 to 10 minute break in between the 2 back-to-back blocks, and then I repeated that until I finished. So I think towards the end, instead of doing 2 blocks, and then 2 blocks, I did 2 blocks, 5 to 10 minute break, 2 blocks, 5 to 10 minute break, and then 1 block, slightly longer break so that I could eat lunch, and then another block, and then 5 to 10 minute break to go to the bathroom, and then the last block, and then I finished. So each block is an hour long. You do your best to finish it within 1 hour. For me, I didn't really run out of time, but I did let the timer run out because when I finished reviewing and answering all of the 40 questions within that block, I only had about 2-ish minutes or less left on the timer. So I just sat there and then let it run out. The thing is, though, for example, you finish the exam in 45 minutes, or you finish a block in 45 minutes. That 15 minutes that if you click out of your block, that doesn't get added to your break time. So what I did was to kind of extend the break, I just sat there for the remainder 2 minutes or 1 minute or however long it was left on my timer, so that I could have a little tiny bit of extra time of break in between. And so I know doing 2 blocks back to back seems a little straining, a little stressful. So I didn't like finish one block and then start immediately after. I let myself take a little breather, probably like a minute, 2 minutes or so, to just close my eyes, because of the strain of staring at the screen for that long is really hard on your eyes. So just close my eyes for a little bit, breathe, make sure my heart stops palpitating, and so that I'm focused and ready to take the next block. Is there anything else? Oh, for the snacks that I packed, I brought 2 pieces of chocolate, 1 protein bar, a sandwich, and a water bottle. And I didn't want to bring anything too heavy because I know that a heavy meal will like make me groggy and bog me down. So I brought just enough food. I was like way too nervous to eat that much anyway, so I think I ended up only eating about half my sandwich, and of course eating my protein bar and the 2 pieces of chocolate. And my water bottle was like standard, I don't even know how many milliliters water bottle, but it's like this tall, skinny Hydro Flask. And I didn't bring any coffee or any tea with me, any caffeine really with me that day, because I didn't want to have to constantly go to the bathroom. So yeah, that was a total of 8 hours that I spent at the testing center. And then I had a really nice sushi dinner with my fiance, my family, and my future in-laws. And then yeah, December was great. December I got married, and yeah, now it's it's February. Now it's February, and it's time to crack down on USMLE Step 2. So after I take USMLE Step 2, I'm going to be making a similar breakdown video for it, and along with my stats, and hopefully I score really well on that exam. And I'm not being so rigid with myself on my timeline, because I figured that I really need to do well on this exam. So if I do find that as it gets closer to my Step 2 target test date on March of 2024, that I'm not ready for it, then I'm not going to be a hero and try to, just take it anyways, because I want to score really well on that exam. So yeah, I'm going to postpone it if necessary, but I'm really hoping that it's not necessary to postpone it, and I could just go ahead and take it when I scheduled it to take it. So yeah, that's it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, just go ahead and leave a comment down below. Follow me on my Instagram. Subscribe to my channel if you're so inclined. And I hope that this video helped you out. Bye.